Everyone, and welcome to the next lesson in this series on AWS fundamentals. So today I'm going to be teaching you about a service called Amazon ECR, which stands for Amazon Elastic Container Registry. So let's go ahead and search for that service. Okay, to be honest, so don't worry, I will explain this in a second. So let's just go ahead and open it up and then we'll get right to the details. Okay, so let's say that you have a Docker image, okay, and you want to push this Docker image to AWS and you want to then containerize it on Amazon ECS, which is Elastic Container Service on Amazon, which we're not going to cover today. So the first step to uploading your Docker image to AWS would be to utilize Amazon Elastic Container Registry. And this is pretty much like a GitHub sort of repository, but instead of storing all of your source code, it's used to store all of your Docker images. So you're effectively going to be creating a repository to store your Docker images. So let's get started. Now the first thing you want to do is you just want to say get started here and create a repository. Now it's very simple to set up a repository, very easy. So you need to just choose a few settings here. Okay, so under visibility settings, you can make it private or public. I would strongly recommend that you keep it private. I always keep mine private. And then below here, you're going to have to set your repository name. So this can be anything. I like to keep it simple and just go with my first repository. Okay, so that's it. Okay, these settings we don't need to worry too much on. Okay, you can read a little bit about them if you'd like, such as scan on push and encryption. So with encryption, we can technically encrypt this repository. So all of our Docker images are encrypted as a result of this. But I wouldn't recommend going into that so quickly, because you need to remember that once you've enabled encryption, it cannot be changed or disabled once you enable it. So do bear that in mind. Okay, so all you really need to do here is set the visibility settings and name your repository. That's all you need to do. Then you can just say create repository. Very simple. Perfect. Okay, there we go. So here's our repository and here is our URI. Now this URI gets very important when we are creating, for example, Docker containers with Amazon Elastic Container Service. We need to use this URI to connect it to our containers, okay, via a task. But I'm not going to go into too much detail there. Okay, so here's our repository. So we can click on this here and we can see we have 0 images, so 0 Docker images. Now, a really great thing about ECR, it guides you through steps as to how you would push an image via these push commands. So we can see here there are 4 steps and it is very, very simple. Okay, now the first thing that you will need to do if you want to push a Docker image to Amazon Elastic Container Registry is, of course, you're going to have a web application. So I'm going to demonstrate this through an example with a simple Django-based Docker image that I've created. So let me show you the steps. All right, so the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to open your command prompt. Now this goes for every single web application or programming language or whatever you're using. These steps will be the same. So the first thing you need to do is say AWS configure. Okay, so go ahead and set that. Now basically what you need to do is you need to configure your access keys here. So it's not, if this is your first time, it's not going to show this, but it will be very similar. So I already have one set up, and this is, so basically AWS is storing your credentials, your access key credentials locally on your computer. So we just need to confirm this. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add access keys here. Now, like I said, please do not share your access keys with anyone. I think I say it too much, but I mean it's something that's very important. So make sure you paste in your AWS access key ID and secret access key ID. Now you generate these when you create an IAM user. So if you're a bit worried about what that is, go ahead and check my previous videos where I cover how to create an IAM user and an IAM group. So just press enter. Under default region name, okay, you can just keep it at US East 2, it's fine. Default output format is none, you can just press enter, that's fine. And that's all you need to do. So make sure you configure your access key and your secret access key ID. Okay, perfect. So you can just leave this for now. Okay, now basically if we go to Docker, Okay, you can see here I have an application here. Okay, it's called app Django. Okay, so that is my application. So I want to push this Docker image to AWS. So let's look at the first step. So retrieve an authentication token and authenticate your Docker client to your registry. Use the AWS CLI, which we are using. So basically we have the AWS CLI installed globally on our system. So it's all set and ready to go. All you need to do after you've run AWS configure, just copy this here, open up your command prompt, and just paste this in like it is. Okay, it will take a bit of a moment. So let's just wait for that. And there we go. Perfect. Now we can scroll down, and under step 2, it says build your Docker image using the following command, and so and so. We can see some instructions and open this here. Which teaches us a little bit about how to create a Docker image, but there's no need for this, okay, because in my case here, we have already built our Docker image. So it says here you can skip this step if your image is already built. It already is, so we can go to step 3 and 4. So generally when you're following these commands, you usually go 1, 3, and 4. You don't really do 2. Okay, after the build completes, tag your image so you can push the image to this repository. So in this case here, it says docker tag my first repository : latest. Now this is not going to work because in our Docker, this is on Docker desktop. So on Docker desktop, sorry those words. Our Docker image here is called app Django. It is not called my first repository latest. So what we need to do is copy this. Okay, paste this here, and we need to replace my first repository latest. So you can just press on the back arrow key that you have on your laptop or computer, and you can just remove all of this. Just for the moment, just leave it there, and you can just go back to your Docker desktop and look at the name. So we have app Django. So that would mean we would need to put here by the tag app : Django, just like that. Then what you can do next is you can just simply press enter, and yeah, it's tagged. So to confirm this, go to Docker desktop, and you can now see that AWS has tagged your Docker image. Now it's very simple what you need to do next. You just need to now push your Docker image to this repository called my first repository. So you can just copy this command here. You don't need to change a thing, just copy that and paste it. Now I do warn you, this can take a while depending on how big your application is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait until this has been completed, and then we're going to carry on with the video. So bear in mind, this does take time, and it is going to transfer a whole lot of data. So let's just wait for this to be completed. All right, welcome back. So we can now see, if you see latest digest here and this long message here, okay, that means that our Docker image was successfully pushed to Amazon ECR. So we can just clear this up. And to confirm this, okay, we can just close this commands list, refresh, and there we go. So that is how you would go ahead and push a Docker image to Amazon ECR. Now I know this is based on my Django project here, but I don't think it will make much of a difference, to be honest with you. But that is basically how you would push an push a Docker image to Amazon ECR. So I hope that helped you and made sense. So the next step that you would take in this case, once you've pushed your Docker image, you would need to then utilize a service called Amazon Elastic Container Service. Now that would be just called, Elastic Container Service. Okay, so that would be the next step here. So once you've pushed your Docker image to Elastic Container Registry, to ECR, you need to utilize ECS, okay, to run and pull this Docker image that you have here. Okay, so that would be the next step if you're wondering and really want to get ahead with things. Okay, now I'm just going to show you now how you'll delete it. Very simple. So you would just click on it here, go and say delete, like that. Say delete, done. Okay, refresh, gone. Go to repository. So let's say you want to delete your repository. Click on it here on the I forgot what this is called, the radio button, and just say delete and delete here. Done. Simple, Easy, straight to the point. Okay, so I hope to help you guys. Thank you very much as always for the support. I really appreciate it. And that's it. See you next time, guys. Thank you again.